I mean, Kennedy's still talking Star Wars. I know Stark wrote this up. Do you know what? I didn't even click on it. I'm just not interested. I keep saying after Mandalorian.
I have it up here. Why don't you put up the banner and I'll go through it.
Hang on then. Right. We hate Kathleen Kennedy. No, let's put up a proper one. More.
Isn't that the proper one?
There we go. Okie doke. So yes. I mean, the Kathleen Kennedy and Star Wars, the savior of
that Rian
our
Johnson
universe.
movie is coming out any time now. 3 big screen movies in a galaxy far, far away were announced, and they were all totally different. Different places in the timeline, different focus. This could be a mess, or it could give them all much needed breathing room from each other. However, we all remember the last time Lucasfilm felt they didn't need to write down a coherent plan, don't we? The separation is deliberate, according to Lucasfilm president Kathleen Kennedy. She has been out on the interview trail following the event to talk up plans for Star Wars. She says there's no predefined schedule. They won't push out movies to hit a quota of releases per year as Marvel does. Quote, we really don't think about that way. I'm not kidding when I say that we talk about things in terms of story and the people involved in arriving in a place where we think it's going to be great and we should move forward. So even though we have a certain mandate around a slate where we're asked to maybe do, 1 or 2 a year, we wouldn't do that if we didn't feel we were ready. Well, you did that before. We're really looking at these as ways in which people can enter Star Wars from different places and not feel the burden of, oh God, I got to catch up with everything that's been made before. So we don't really talk about in terms of trilogies per se. And I guess they're going to take a different approach. I know that they're talking about doing the Acolyte, which is going to be 50 or 100 years before Phantom Menace. And then they're talking about doing a new Daisy Ridley series, which is going to be 15 years later.
The whole, just to point on this, I think we spoke about it last week, but the whole Daisy Ridley thing is the final nail in the coffin for Luke, because Luke is the one who set up the Jedi Academy. He set up the new, he brought the Jedi back to life. But obviously now that Disney have killed him off, they've got to bring back, the most boring character who replaced him back to, save the franchise. And it's like, what, the character that literally killed the franchise, you're bringing her back. That's going to work out well.
Here's another example. I don't blame Ridley. It's not like she's getting tons of work. And if she has a chance to redeem the character, maybe she's taking some of this to heart. Maybe this will backfire on Lucas, and then they'll make her halfway decent.
Who is genuinely going to go and watch it? I know you've got these diehard cultists online who still think Star Wars, Disney, everything about it is fantastic, but who's going to go and watch it? Nobody. And it's just, again, bringing back Disney, bringing back Daisy Ridley as Rey, Rey Palpatine, literally kind of, just like I say, the character that kind of killed the franchise to save it. It's just, I don't understand them. I really don't understand them.
I mean, what if it's a Picard season 3 situation? I'm steel manning your argument here because I don't disagree with you. But what if we have a Picard season 3 situation here? Maybe they bring in the right person, they put together something, and everybody starts talking about it. I mean, is it possible? I look at Picard season 3 has been very, very good. It's been actually good. Talos has done a fantastic job. I don't see I see very little, if anything, from Disney Star Wars that I've gone, that was really good. Even The Mandalorian season 1, season 2, I kind of look back on it, it's like, it's fine. It's kind of been ruined now. Yeah. But Boba Fett was terrible. Obi-Wan was terrible. Bad Batch has been fine. Rebels was fine. It was more Dave Filoni stuff, but I never thought the Clone Wars... I like the Clone Wars. I like them. I'm not telling everybody you need to watch them. They're amazing. I'm saying they were good. That's about it. Everything else has been fair to garbage. And so I don't know. I mean, can they bring in the right... Can they save this? Or is it... I mean, they have to save it, don't they? They have to, because they got nothing else.
There is always the opportunity that, yes, obviously that it could be saved, and I will always watch Star Wars just on that premise that, you know, it might actually be good and it might actually be saved, and this one might be the one that's actually quite decent. I can't like not look away from it. You know, I've always got to give it that eternal hope. I'm also a completionist, which I kind of hate as well, so that if I start watching something, unless it's terrible, you know, I'll carry on watching it, like I had with Mando. Like I say, that episode with Lizzo and Jack Black was just, it was to me, it was the worst thing I've seen since Last Jedi. It was terrible, but yeah, I still had to give it a go, and I'll watch this week's episode as well. And getting Daisy back again, it just depends, because it's just, if Kathleen Kennedy has got her grubby little fingers all over it, then what is the point? What's going to be the point of watching it? Because she's just going to ruin it. You know, this is...
Yeah, I don't have any faith in her to do anything. Of course, I didn't have any faith in Kurtzman, but I guess he's been hands off on this. I don't know. I mean, it's not... It's such a weird... You know, there's so many players in this. It isn't just one person, although, the buck's got to stop somewhere. But I'm trying to... You know, this is interesting. Okay, so Star Wars can't be saved. I'm going to say the MCU can't be saved. I don't think.
No. It's had its moment.
It's had its moment and it's done. Pixar puts out one or two every 3 years that are good, maybe. That's only one movie, let's say. And they've tapered off a lot.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I do think that the quality of their stuff, the last two Pixar movies, I haven't even bothered with. I think one of them was it the two kids in the van looking for their dead dad or something? And I don't think I finished it. And then the other one was the Soul Ghost or something or other. And I just didn't even bother. Didn't even bother watching it.
It's no coincidence when they Me Too'd Lasseter that everything went to hell for Pixar.
Yeah.
I look at... I'm trying to think this through. Okay, so if Star Wars dies, or they can't get... Because at some point, they're not going to be able to make these anymore, because, you know, season 3 of Mando's got nothing there as far as viewership. I mean, it's bad. The MCU is losing money. Quantumania, I think Guardians of the Galaxy 3 will make money because it's the last one. James Gunn will make it. He'll make something that everybody will like. But after that, they're screwed. I really believe that MCU is screwed.
I'm not sure about Guardians of the Galaxy 3. I'm hoping it's going to be good. But I mean, I read the other day that James Gunn says it's the best superhero movie ever, and whether he's just saying that because of the bravado that he is, kind of his own swagger, that he kind of says that kind of thing, but at the same time I do wonder whether he actually believes that or not, and it's just kind of don't build it up that much, because you're not going to be able to deliver like that.
Yeah, good. I think he does. I think he, well, look, whatever. I think he's done. I like both the Guardians films. I think they're both good.
Oh yeah, I'm not taking that away. Yeah,
James Gunn has made very little that I didn't like, so I think he's fine. After that, I don't see anything on the horizon for Marvel for the MCU that's going to be good. So you've lost Star Wars, you've lost the MCU. They're not bringing in the Bucks. They're also not bringing in, because they have gone so badly, you're not bringing people into the parks anymore because there's nothing compelling there. Yep. So what is the long-term end game for Disney, or what's going to happen to them? Because they've pretty much put everything they have on either Disney. Well, there hasn't been really a Disney movie come out in a while, like a Disney Princesses or you know, anything like that. MCU is dying. Star Wars is dying. Pixar is not going to hold it up. So I just feel like that the snowball has just started rolling down the hill towards the bankruptcy. And
I was going to say, I think he's getting to the point that I don't understand how they kind of naturally let these things die. You know, there was back in the day, you kind of like had the war movies, and that was all the rage and everything. Then you had the westerns, and then you had this, and with the superhero stuff, they need to just let it die a natural death and then maybe bring it back in a few years' time. But they just can't think like that. All they think about is, you know, where this next product is going to come from and how can they draw it out. And, you know, it's still popular on Iceland. It's like, yeah, but it's not still popular, is it? You know, you are losing money from it. You've got to realise that, you know, that it is going to get to a point where it is completely dry and there's nothing left. You've got to understand that. And I just don't think they're there yet.
Well, I think there's plenty left in all of those tanks. It's just they don't have the people to do it. So let's just assume that they're not going to be smart enough to get rid of the woke HR people that run these things, and let's assume that that's going to continue. So you didn't spend. I mean, you spent some money, but I don't think they spent an insane amount of money for the MCU. Maybe somebody could check my work, but I don't think it was like the $4 billion they spent for Lucasfilm. And Pixar, they spent a fair amount of money on, but you know, they've kind of centered their entire creative output around these three jewels, right?
Yeah.
Because they're not making Aladdin anymore. You know what I mean? They're not making that kind of stuff anymore.
Pinocchio and that kind of,
They centered around those three jewels. Now they paid a pile they paid like $71 billion for 20th Century Fox. Something ridiculous. Again, check my work on that, but I think that it was really high number. And I'm like going, okay, so you got that. I mean, what are you going to put out with that? You know, more diehards? I mean, I don't know what Fox's stuff is, but I mean, you got the Simpsons. Simpsons is well past its prime.
Again, one of those series that is really, really, I mean, I think it hits peak in sort of seasons 5, 6, 7, maybe 8. And then from there, it's just been going downhill. You know, every now and then there is something on which is funny, but again, it's well past its sell-by date.
I'm not a financial advisor, but but if I were, I would say sell your Disney stock quick, because I just feel like they are heading towards a wall here, and I don't see how they get out of it, because they have too much money tied up in these properties, and they're clearly following the sunk cost fallacy. They don't have the guts or the resources or the talent to do something new that really grabs people anymore. Bob Iger is not exactly they brought back a guy who put him into this mess in the first place, instead of taking a chance on somebody that's just, this has got to change. I really believe within 5 years Disney may be doing some Chapter 11 reorganization, because I mean, it just isn't working.
I saw the other day, and I mean, I think this was from Doomcock, so I mean, with his stuff, I always take it with a very large pinch of salt anyway, but I mean, he made a video saying that Disney are looking to sell Lucasfilm. And again, it's kind of, they would recoup their money from that, because, you know, in the right hands, Lucasfilm is a money printing machine. You know, it's just there to be able to print money.
Hey, Elon, that's a lot cheaper than Twitter.
Yeah. Well, I thought Last Movie Outpost could put in a bid, at least. You know, at least put in a bid.
Let me check the couch cushions and see what I got.
Yeah, that's right. Got a couple of quid down here somewhere. But I mean, again, with it, they would make obviously an awful lot of money back. But then it's kind of, I think it's one of those situations where they don't want to let it go. They do want to bleed it dry. Whereas if they did sell it to another company who then had a vested interest in actually making good Star Wars, it would then start making money again. And I think Disney would have some clause or something or other in the contract to sort of say, if the new movies start making money, we get, you know. And I just, could you imagine trying to deal with Disney or work with Disney? Years ago, don't get me wrong, I would have sold my left testicle to do it. But now I wouldn't want to go anywhere near them, because you just can't trust them.
Then you have those stories where they're actually getting sued by showrunners now, and so they're not, any talent worth his salt is not going to touch them with a 10-foot pole. I'm looking at this from a business perspective. You know, I'm looking at it from, I see no changes to what they want to do. In fact, I see a reversion to what caused this problem in the first place with Bob Iger's reinstatement. And I see them bleeding money, and I see things like Quantum Mania and Star Wars and Mandalorian and all this stuff just not hitting with people anymore. Mm-hmm. I see Buzz Light, the Lightyear movie, and these woke nonsense that nobody wants to take their kids
world.
To. Yeah. And you go, how? This is not sustainable. How could they continue? It's not possible. And shareholders are revolting. I mean, something's got to give here.
Yeah. Ultimately, I know some people sort of say they're only focused on money and stuff like that. Movies have always been focused on money. Yes, there have been artistic license that came out, and still there were great filmmakers that they've discovered, like Quentin Tarantino and people like that. But ultimately, it's always been about making money. But I just think now that it's... Yes, you've got that message, which has got to be included in everything, and the inclusivity and diversity and everything else, which is just not helping. But ultimately, like I say, that they must see how much money they're hemorrhaging to know that there's a problem there, that it's got to be plugged up, and they've just got to pass it on to somebody else. You'd think, like you say, you can't maintain a business model losing so much money all the time.
Well, I kind of disagree with you. I mean, yes, it's always been about making money, but a good business focuses on the product. And if they're putting out a good product and they're doing well, which Walt Disney did, and that's way back when, he was focused on putting out a great product that he thought would be better. And if he did it right, then the money came, which it did.
Right. Yeah.
And that's your focus on. If your end goal is focusing on the money, then you buy stuff that just seems like money makers, and you end up with shit like what happened with Lucasfilm. You know, Star Wars was not made to make money. It was made almost on a bet, and it was a dream of George Lucas, and it ended up becoming this thing, right? Because it was a quality product that people wanted to see. If you do that, if that's your focus, you will make the money will come. Yeah, if it's good. That's not what they're focused on. They're focused on the bottom line. They're focused on profits. That's why you have suits going in there and fucking with movies and all that kind of stuff. And it doesn't work because you can't create art on a balance sheet.
No. I suppose that's why so many companies turned down Star Wars, because they just didn't see a profit in it. Whereas 20th Century Fox took the risk, and then were stupid enough to give away, a percentage to Lucas of the earnings, because they just didn't think it was going to make all that much.
Well, they had about had it with his stupid space movie, and if it wasn't for Alan Ladd Jr., they were about ready to put the kibosh on it because it was going over budget and it looked like ass.
One of my favorite quotes was, "If Yoda is so wise with the Force, how come he didn't take a 1% gross like Obi-Wan?" Because again, like I say. But I mean, with it, like I say, I do understand what you're saying, but obviously, the film industry is there to make money. But like you say, when they do stumble upon people like Stanley Kubrick or, like I say, Quentin Tarantino, people who are box office draws, happy days, but it's just when you've got such major big products with massive franchises, which, like I say, should just be printing the money. I mean, if for example, I was talking about this with somebody the other day, the whole Thrawn trilogy, if they had made the Thrawn trilogy out of the sequels and actually stuck to the books and stuff, they would be just the figures would be off the charts. Stuff James Cameron in his top 3 movies and stuff like that, Star Wars would be right up there. But yet, they released Solo after The Last Jedi, after The Last Jedi, and it lost money in the box office. And you're just thinking, how is that possible?
Well, I think just the way you put that, and I think that's the problem, is that mindset. It's like, well, if you get this, you should be able to print money. It's like, that's the wrong mindset. You can't just take a property and print money just because it has the word Star Wars on it. You can for a little while. Obviously, they have. But you can't continue to do that because you do not have people working with Star Wars that have the mindset and the passion and the understanding of Star Wars. And there is a possibility that as vast and cool as the Star Wars universe appears to be, maybe it's an empty mine. It's a dead mine at this point. You can't get any more gold from them there hills. And so you went into it thinking this is the golden goose. It was like, no, the golden goose is taking risks on new things. Because that's what creates IPs. You are going the safe route. You are not. Disney's not taking any risks. Because they're buying established shit, and then they don't know how to deal with it. So in the end, they're destroying themselves.
Sorry, just reading through the comments ever so quickly there. Rogue Thoughts just said Disney bought a steakhouse and then said every menu item must be vegetarian. Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. It's throwing me off the point now. Thank you, Rogue Thought. Put me right off my point now.
Did he give you a rogue thought?
He really did. I can't think what it was now. But I mean, like I say, ultimately, it is a shame that we have to wade through this crap of what they are doing until we can actually get to something decent. But it's just kind of, the more they pour on it, the worse it's just going to become. And like I say, I will always be a sucker and I will always watch it and I will always hate myself for doing so. I'm a masochist. I don't flog myself with a whip. I just watch Disney Star Wars.
I probably wouldn't if it weren't for, the site and wanting to talk about it. But I've kind of gotten to a point where I just find it fascinating is how I'm watching a company destroy itself, and it doesn't even realize how it's destroying itself. It doesn't understand what made it great in the first place, and so it's not willing to do those things because, putting up a giant theme park the way they did was a risk. Putting in the new one in Florida was a risk. Creating the feature-length animation was a risk. Creating the first Pixar movie was a risk. These risks are the ones that have paid off. And there was a lot of crap that didn't pay off. But that's how a theater gets longevity, or a movie production house gets longevity. They can't do it by just buying somebody else's shit.
No, that's what I was going to say before Rogue Thought threw me off, was when movies then do take a risk, like, for example, The Matrix. Obviously, The Matrix was a huge risk because of the way that they were shooting and everything else, but then it absolutely nailed it. And again, it's kind of... like you say, it's about taking that risk. It's quite, it's no point coming back to Rogue Thoughts, thing that if you buy a steakhouse and then decide we're going to put chocolate with everything, because everybody loves chocolate, and it's like, no, if you're getting steak and putting chocolate on it, it's not going to work, is it? You've got to have something, and people who come up with these original ideas are being pushed to the back because they're just trying to now find people who can just churn out the same old stuff with these franchises, with Scream and all this kind of stuff. It's just, let's get a property, let's just squeeze that one dry, because we don't want to take a risk on a new one because people may not go and watch it. But if you write Scream on it, everybody's going to go and watch it and it's going to be fine. And that is a massive part of the problem.
Yeah, pillaging someone else's risk is just, you are eventually going to hit failure because you cannot continue squeezing these things to death. I don't think Scream 6 was a huge box office bonanza.
No, it was.
Maybe it made a profit.
It's the highest box office gross for a Scream movie. So it has done quite well.
Well, I mean, it's making money. I don't know what to do. I mean, that's up to us to not see this shit, I guess. But we keep going.
See again. So. I know.
Thank you for watching this excerpt from Outpost Frequencies. Tune in live every Sunday at noon Central Time or 6 o'clock UK time. And also, remember to come to lastmovieoutpost.com for all your latest in movie news, streaming news, and everything cool about film. We are the cool news now. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you on the next stream.